This is Dr. Liza Legaspi. I'm the program manager here at Southern California Gas Company, or SoCalGas. Year over year, and we've been doing this for over 8 years now, 8, 9 years. It's always been about therm savings. That's the bottom line. We need to always gain those therm savings. And personally, my goal is always like, okay, I did good prior year. I want to beat and compete with myself, you know, each time, every year. So that was the goal. Like, we did better. Did good last year. We want to go better. It's all about that idea of Kaizen, which is about continuous improvement, continuously improving what we're doing. And that took me to like a whole new level. Prior years, we've only targeted high usage customers because we know we're going to get more terms from there, from that group of segments or good group of customer. But they're not increasing, a plateau, because you're not gaining more customers. It's just the way it is. Some customers move in and some customers move out, but it's a wash almost every year. So the only way that we can expand our customer target is start going down this different segment usage customers, which is now the next step was, okay, let's go to average users, because average users one day might become your high usage customer. So why don't we stair step them, invest on those customers today, understanding that they might not drive as much high savings, but again, we're holding their hands, we're guiding them to the next level, that one day when they become the high usage customer, you've already trained them that behavior of saving energy. So we did that with Bidgely. We were looking for a cost-effective and efficient way of doing this. That's why we came up with this home energy report alerts. And you asked about the results. We were very pleased about the result. In just about 4 months, we were able to drive term savings from this group of customers that we didn't do before. We didn't reach out to these customers before. So however small that is in comparison to the large users, those are term savings that we didn't have before. And that was the thinking beginning of the year. We're going to do this. It's a trial. It's a pilot. We might gain term savings. We might not. That was the thinking. But the expectation was like, we're going to train this group of customers that one day when they become a high usage customer, they already know how is it, what they need to do to save and conserve energy. Then COVID-19 happened. So that really got me worried, right? That was like, someone just threw that ball in there. What are we going to do? So what we did is, okay, we had to reframe things and think about this. And we did. And that's when we had to change our messaging, being authentic, understanding what the customers are going through, because we are going through those challenges that they're facing. Understanding that, we changed our messaging. We offered our services, our programs that we think during these times where it's challenging could really help them. Digital only, number one, is cost efficient, right? It's not as expensive as printing a letter or any of those. It's digital. And with COVID-19, I think we all learned that digital was very effective, because for example, everyone do not want to touch anything. And you've seen that when COVID first started coming out, right? Everyone was so scared, and we all treated our mail like, okay, it's going to explode. I don't want to touch it. We all got scared of our mail. Every time I still do it when I go to my mailbox. I wear gloves, get my mail, bring it inside my house. I have wipes and sanitizing all my mail, and they're all wet. Okay, by the time I get to read them. And so it's even like, I think I call it my holding tank. I put them there and wait for 24 hours, because they said, especially with paper, it takes about 24 hours before the virus is gone. So that presented a whole new challenges for consumers, right? And what happened? Everyone went into digital, even banking. When you go deposit a check, not everyone now is depositing a check. I think it really helped the mobile app now deposit your check using your camera, because no one wants to to touch paper. You go to the market, I see a lot of people don't want to take the receipts because, again, that's paper. So yes, I do believe that digital, we actually changed our behavior because of COVID, and it put digital front and center. What feedback did we receive from the contents of our home energy reports this year? This year, I believe it was really received positively, especially when you have that disaggregation or that appliance level information. It's not just about, hey, you did great, compared to your neighbor, but it's more about understanding first, who is the neighbor? Second, what is it I'm doing inside my house that is more actionable? Like what appliances are really like, I'm using a lot or I'm using less, or which one is it really? What are you measuring when you send me this report? So it gave consumers, our customers, a lot of more insight inside their home about their appliances. For example, maybe if I was cooking every day before, maybe I should cook every other day. Or maybe if I was washing my clothes every day, maybe I should wash it every other day. So things like that. I mean, it's not about dictating. The purpose of the report is not about dictating what consumers have to do. It's actually enabling customers, giving those customers knowledge and understanding of how they're using energy. You know, giving them the flexibility in what they can do in terms of how they can save. And I think that's what we did. Our season has always been winter. November to March, that's when there's a spike use of natural gas. I'm not saying that there's no natural gas. People don't use natural gas during summer months. I'm just saying that that's the high peak, or that's the season for us. So that's when we gain most of our term savings. And with digital only, we all know you avoid printing costs, production costs is even less, and also delivery is quicker. So you're able to send it at the time that it needs to be in market. With paper only, that takes longer time. You find earlier, you have to allocate a lot of time in producing it, and then printing it, and then mailing it. And with COVID, you need to be flexible. You need to act quickly and make changes if you need to. And digital is not just because it was like less cost, but it is also it's more flexible. There's a lot more flexibility, and you get to send it or provide it to the consumer at the time that they really need it the most. It actually is very helpful. It enabled them. It enabled and educated our customers, and they had availability of the programs that we were offering at the time that actually made sense and when they need it. So digital is not just about cost. It's also about the time that when you give it, here it is, and you can sign up now, and if you need it. 2020 was a challenging year, and even with that challenges, we were able to reach over 1.8 million customers with our behavioral program. With Bidgely, we were able to reach almost 400,000 average usage customers this year. We've delivered over 4.3 million email alerts, that is, to this customer segment. And what we've learned just from November to March, that this group of customers delivered almost over 360,000 term savings to our program. We've also learned, 81% of them gave us positive feedback. They like those alerts. And to be honest, the open rate of over 46% is pretty significant. That's pretty high. That means they're really reading those alerts. And subscribe rate was very small and very little.
Thank you, Lisa. Really appreciate the insightful presentation there, and good to see you again. It's been a while since I've been able to travel down there to LA and to pay you a visit, but hopefully sometime again in the near future. So, quick question for you, related to the COVID theme that you brought up. We kind of entered a lot of these more severe lockdowns right about the time that Southern California was coming out of the winter, and you would be exiting your traditional sort of heating season. What sort of impacts do you expect this time around? Hopefully, I think we're all optimistic that this winter will be a little bit better than what we experienced as far as COVID is concerned. But I would imagine that you still have a lot of customers working from home, a lot of customers that might be looking at a different economic situation than last winter. And what sort of impacts do you anticipate across your customer base, and how do you intend to serve customers in a digital manner to alleviate those challenges?
I wish I have a, what do you call this, a looking glass, right? I can see what's going to happen. But with that said, I always try to think about, what's the worst thing that can happen.
Mm-hmm.
The worst thing that can happen is like we'll be continuing this lockdown, and if we continue with this lockdown, and people will start still work from home, their children will still be going to school virtually. That means there's going to be higher usage during winter, because everyone wants to stay warm. And I mentioned about authenticity and being able to help that situation. So with that said, the effort should also continue in terms of reaching out to these customers, in terms of how we can help them, provide them what rebate offers, or even hard to reach, or our care and our ESAP program. We have a lot of different programs. You're also looking into like some COVID strategies we're in. It's all about what can we do to help our customer. Is that SoCalGas commitment to the community is always glad to be of service. And that is something that I can predict, and that will continue.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, which is kind of a segue to the second question that I had for you. I suppose is a little bit of an elaboration on that point, but Bidgely's hypothesis, if you will, has been that a lot of the trends that we're seeing in terms of utility communications now were kind of already underway. Which obviously you've been serving customers through digital channels pretty effectively now for quite some time, but that perhaps COVID was more of an accelerating type of event where utilities would look even more directly towards digital strategies in the future. Do you anticipate that some of the trends that are underway now in terms of how you're relating to your customers are now long-term trends and things that you will continue, whether it's home energy reports or it's even other efficiency and customer programs that you offer? Do you anticipate even more advances in your digital strategy over time?
So one thing I've learned about this COVID, or anything that happens in life, is like we're sometimes forced to make changes. And that's something that's constant. Change is constant. Mm-hmm. So COVID made all of us change our behavior, how we utilize energy, how we interact with friends. And because of that change, we evolved. We made modification in the way we do things. What I can see is like that evolution will continue even after COVID. Some might remain the same as they being the new normal. However, we're going to keep on evolving, and that's just a human factor.
Yeah, absolutely. I know you've spent not just your professional days, but also your academic ones studying customer behavior. And I'm just curious if somebody permitted you, the opportunity to, we'll say, redesign how we reach customers, whether that's through new channels, video, things of that nature. I mean, what sort of excites you the most about the possibilities of impacting customer behavior moving forward, COVID or no COVID, just generally on the technology front?
On technology, or in just in general?
In general, let's keep it general for now.
Well, human behavior has always been intriguing because we have triggers, and each and every one of us have different triggers, right? Or motivation. And that itself is what excites me, because I don't know what that is. It keeps on changing. It's very elusive. Once you discover one thing, oh, they change it again. So you almost have to be like 2, 3 steps ahead. And it's a predictive model. Even the predictive model is constantly changing. So it's the data that you feed in that predictive model. You know, it needs to be precise. It needs to be constant. The more frequent and the more data you put in a predictive model, the easier for us to cope with the environment. With that said, you can't predict everything. You just need to be quick enough and smart enough to react. You can predict and be proactive, but there's a portion that you cannot. And with that said, you must be flexible, you must be quick, and you must be smart in the way you do things. And sometimes we can't be doing all those 3 things all at the same time. Sometimes you have to step back, one step back, in order to move 10 steps forward.
Yeah, well put. Well, thank you again. Appreciate your time. As a fellow West Coaster, although further north, we've got COVID and now we've got wildfires to navigate. So stay safe, and we'll look forward to seeing you soon.
Okay.
Thank you.